The Director General of the Ghana AIDS Commission is Dr. Cheme Etiahini. He's joined us on the line. Doc, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Imoro, and thanks for having me.
First of all, what was the level of involvement of the commission during the early days of the hearing of petitions against and in favor of this bill currently before the House?
Well, before I answer the question, I would like to state categorically clear to all Ghanaians that Ghana AIDS Commission did not object to the passage of the bill. Ghana AIDS Commission rather identified a number of clauses that had potential risk of creating difficult situations in the country for individuals, families, communities, and communities, I mean schools, churches, and various social groups, and suggested that those clauses must be given a second look and have them amended. Now, a number of people and institutions that submitted, memos to the committee, or some of them also agreed with what Ghana AIDS Commission said. And in fact, some of the issues we raised were also agreed by the Attorney General in the advice paper he gave to the committee. And so at no point did we object to the bill. We rather call for amendments. And I'm very happy, at least I haven't seen the amended bill, but I have read portions of the report and recognize that the effort we made in bringing public health perspectives, to bear on the bill have been taken, in good faith, and we can see them reflected in the report. And so when we look at the bill, we will know exactly the changes that have been made. But I've heard a number of commentaries from some parliamentarians and others on the report and the amended bill. And I think that most of the things we propose have been given kind consideration by the committee. And so the contribution of the commission, either in the form of the memo we submitted or my appearance before the committee to answer and clarify issues to the committee, all clearly indicated that we wanted amendment to the bill, but not to, stand against or object to the passage of the bill as being reported by the committee. And we will take the matter up with the committee.
So I'm looking at page 12 of the report. It's subtitled Arguments Raised Against the Passage of the Bill. That's paragraph 7.6. And it says, so 7.6.1, and that reads, on the other hand, some other institutions, groups, and individuals, including Human Rights Coalition, Ghana AIDS Commission, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Key Watch Ghana or Intersex Ghana, among others, are opposed to the passage of the bill. They advance the following arguments in support of their position. They contend that the passage of the bill into law will violate the provisions of Article 1, Clauses 1 and 2 of the 1992 Constitution. The said articles place obligation on the government to exercise its functions according to the dictates of the Constitution, and that any other law found to be inconsistent with any provision of the Constitution shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void. They premise their position on the provisions in Article 12.2, 17.1, and 21A, B, and C of the Constitution, which guarantees equality before the law, prohibit all forms of discrimination, and the freedom of expression, thought, conscience, belief, and association, as well as media and academic freedom. According to the group, these are unfettered and inalienable rights. Therefore, any attempt to criminalize such acts will be unconstitutional. The group further stressed that the Constitution prohibits dehumanizing and injurious acts to the physical and mental well being of all persons, guarantees the right of the people to assemble, including the right to take part in procession and demonstrations, and entitled all persons to enjoy, practice, profess, maintain, and promote any culture, language, tradition, or religion. They concede that the enjoyment of those rights are subject to the rights and freedoms of others or public interest. However, in their view, the activities of LGBTQI+ do not place any obstacle to others for enjoying their rights under the Constitution, neither do they pose any harm to the public. All right, so that's just a paragraph I'm reading where the Ghana East Commission was mentioned. I was going to just put that to the chairman. We'll try to re-establish connection with him, but I'll continue to read paragraph 7.64 of the report of the Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs says that they contend further that LGBTQI+ activities form part of what the Constitution contemplates under Article 33(5) about recognition of certain rights and freedoms which are considered to be inherent in a democracy and which is intended to secure the rights and freedom and dignity of the people. Consequently, any attempt to prescribe different treatment to different people on the basis of their sexual orientation and gender will be discriminatory and an affront to Article 17(1) and 2 of the Constitution. They maintain that any attempt to criminalize intercourse between same-sex persons will be a violation of Article 14(1) and 17(1)(2)(3) of the Constitution that provides for personal liberty of all persons and for equality of all persons under the law. They explain that human beings do not engage in sexual acts in open places other than in the privacy of their homes. Therefore, any attempt to promote a situation whereby people's homes can become the subject of invasions merely in search of persons deemed to be engaging in same-sex activities is unjustified interference in their personal liberty. Another argument preferred against the passage of the bill is a purported violation of Article 40 of the 1992 Constitution relating to obligations of Ghana to respect international treaties and conventions to which Ghana is a member. Among some of the treaties mentioned include the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, Convention Against Torture, the Convention of the Rights of the Child, the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, and the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. They argue that under Universal Declaration of Human Rights, all human beings are entitled to their rights and freedom without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, property, religion, political or other opinion, nationality or social origin, poverty, birth of or other status. They also have the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. They intimate that criminalizing consensual adults for engaging in sexual relations and same-sex is an infringement on their fundamental rights and freedoms. So just a few of the key things that have been raised there. Unfortunately, we've lost the Dr. Chema Etuahini, who is Director General of the Ghana East Commission. I was going to ask him to respond there because the committee mentions his commission specifically and says that it's one of the commissions that objected to the passage of the Anti-LGBTQI Bill. For which reason Ahmed Ibrahim Banda of Banda constituency, who is Deputy Whip, is taking issue and actually calling on the President to act, because the Ghana East Commission is one of the institutions that are indirectly under the office of the President, and their budget comes through from the office of the President. I had on the line Dr. Chemetua. We were having a conversation, and I was trying to read for him specifically what the committee said when we lost him. We've got him back now. Let me just continue with that conversation. So, Doc, while you were off, I was reading copious statements made by the committee in its report to the House, and your commission has been mentioned as one of the commission. In fact, all the reasons that you gave to object to the bill were listed in that report, and that is the reason the member of parliament has taken issue. You were saying that you never objected, or you were saying that it has not been properly captured?
Never objected to the passage of the bill.
Sorry, say that again. I didn't.
The commission rather raised arguments against some of the clauses in the bill, which was going to make the bill, if passed, a bad law. And when I made the presentation before the committee, admitted, and some members even came to me and thanked me for the issues I had, because they had not thought about it. And according to the information I have, those issues were, extensively deliberated and had to be reflected in the revised bill. And so, Honorable Ahmed, with all respect, I think his position is an uninformed one. He probably is just taking the issues out of context. Yes, we raised issues against certain clauses in the bill, which we thought had potential, were going to pose potential threat to individuals and families and communities in this country. And therefore, the Parliament needed to look at those clauses. And I'm happy to know that they have actually considered these matters.
I see, but Ahmed Ibrahim may be speaking from a position which is in reference to what the committee's chairman has reported to the House and indeed to the country. You are listed there on paragraph 7.61 as one of the institutions, and in fact, it says that on the other hand, some other institutions, groups, and individuals, including Human Rights Coalition, Ghana AIDS Commission, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Key Watch Ghana, and Intersex Ghana, among others, are opposed to the passage of the bill. And the argument that you advanced were highlighted subsequently. So it is the decision of the report that you were opposed. That's the conclusion, and for which reason the member of parliament raised the issues that he did.
Yes, and I think that inclusion of Ghana's commission in the list of those who overtly oppose the bill is quite misleading, and is something that we want to have resolved with the committee. As I've said over and over again, is the fact that, yes, we do not deny the fact that we actually made arguments against certain clauses in the draft bill, and advanced the argument that if those clauses were not amended, it was going to make the law a bad one if passed in its form as it was then.
Which areas were you advising against, or what were some of the red flags you raised then in the draft bill?
For example, we looked at public health implications of some of the clauses, where people who gave any form of support, whether medical or whatever, to known or people who are LGBT, were supposed to be they were to be punished by law. Okay, and so we use the example of doctors and nurses and let's say healthcare workers. In the healthcare setting, any person who walks into the four walls of the or any health facility is seen as a patient. There is no hospital that has records on gays and lesbians. Everybody who works there, whether you are president or what, you are patient, and they treat you as patient, and they have sworn hypocritical oath that they will keep everything confidential between them and their clients. And if you are asking them to report their clients that they had taken care of And if they fail to do so, they will be punished by law. I think that was not that wasn't right. A parent whose child is a gay or lesbian is also supposed to report. A church pastor or minister who helps praise for somebody who confesses to be a gay or lesbian and needs spiritual help. That pastor is supposed by those clauses was by law to report this was going to cause serious chaos in our society. And that would make the law a bad one. So those were the issues we raised. We never raised any harmful or anything that is objectionable in that context. So I think that the issues must be put in perspective. But for me, the important thing is that, yes, we now, the Parliament is going to pass the bill. This is a bill that has almost universal acceptance in the Ghanaian society. But there are broader issues to it. The law, when the bill is passed into act, it is going to help to control in some way or to some extent to reduce the number of people who are becoming gays and lesbians in the country. However, we need to look at the fundamental causes that, make people choose these lifestyles. The country is very hard for everyone. And one of the fundamental reasons is that the difficulty that Ghanaians and Africans face is something that is making people go into prostitution or into homosexual lifestyles. In Ghana, majority of people who call themselves, who are in homosexuality are bisexuals. And so we shouldn't look at the issues the way the arguments we are making. I think we need to focus on how to deal with that problem. What is making young people go into homosexual activities? What is making young people going into prostitution and exposing themselves to all kinds of risk, including health risk, that require the country to make huge investments in addressing those health issues. And so let's not, make it look like there are people who are against the bill and therefore those people must answer for it. No, we should look at, we've all contributed in bringing the bill to its current state. We rather have to, going forward, we have to look at how we all work together as a people to address the fundamental issues.
Does a commission, Doc, does a commission have any statistics in relation to members of the LGBTQI community and the spread of HIV? Is there any data like that you have, which you have given to the House of Parliament during the analysis ahead of the debate on this particular bill?
Yes. The data we have is on men who have sex with men and to a limited extent transgender. And the data clearly showed that about 54,000 men in Ghana above age 18 are homosexuals.
54,000.
Yes, 54,000. A substantial proportion of this group, of this number, is actually bisexual. We also know that about 18% of them at 2017 lived with HIV and other sexually transmitted infections. And so that was the basis of our argument, that if you want doctors to report these people, it means it's going to it will prevent them from accessing HIV services. And that is going to compound the problem we have in the country, because new infections in Ghana is needlessly very high. And AIDS is one of the leading causes of death in Ghana, which means that HIV is still a major public health concern in the country. And so such a law is obviously going to compound the problem. And therefore, those clauses had to be amended in order not to drive such people underground and continue to spread the virus in the general population. Because, as I said, majority of men who have sex with men in Ghana is bisexual, which means they have sex with women as well. And so the women whom they have sex with serve as bridging population between the homosexuals and the general population, because such women also may have other partners within the general population. And if we have more infections in the homosexual community, it is most likely that their partners will pick the infections and spread it in the general population. And that is a public health issue for the country, and it has to be addressed. And the law must rather enhance public health efforts rather than undermine such efforts. So that was the basis of the argument. And I think the Honorable House, through the committee, considered this issue very carefully and has kindly taken it into account in amending the bill.
It's talking about the HIV and AIDS generally. How are we doing as a country? What are some of the statistics that you want to share?
Yes. As a country, we've come a long way. We've made significant progress. Over the last 20 years or so, new infections have reduced quite significantly, but not to the level that would lead to epidemic control. New infections are still very high, averaging more than 16,000 a year. AIDS deaths also averaging more than 10,000 a year. And these numbers are very high. And so we think that prevention of new infection is very, very important. And people who are engaged in anal sex, and when it comes to this bill, I think we have to make a clear distinction. The bill is prescribing activities of same-sex relationships. But in the context of public health, it is not just about same-sex relationships. It's also about sexual behavior. It's anal sex. Now, anal sex is not restricted to same-sex people involved in same-sex relationships. It's also quite prevalent among heterosexual couples. It's quite prevalent, and it's a very high-risk behavior. And so we have to look at these issues very carefully.
Okay.
And therefore, we think that the bill is going to deal with the issues that it seeks to deal with.
Very well, Doc. Before we go now,
Public health approach the Commission is using to end AIDS by the year 2030 is a proven strategy that is supported by science and data. And we all have to, as a people and a society, Ghanaian society, we all have to work together to eliminate AIDS, and it is possible for us to achieve that objective. The National agenda is elimination agenda. We want to eliminate HIV and AIDS from the country, and we have the tools, the strategies to achieve this. We all have to work together to achieve this agenda.
Okay, very well. Moving forward, now that the committee has made this conclusion, which you said is not accurate, and the member of parliament wants to write to the chief of staff and say that you have gone beyond your bounds because your budget is approved by the house and you have no business doing what you did, what steps are you going to take to have this correction made, since you said that it was an error in the report?
Yes, we will talk to the committee and try to build some understanding around the issues. I think that is what we need to do for now.
Okay. Thank you so much for speaking to us.